They can already just enjoy
Well,
themselves.
you've tweeted it,
So this is episode 61 of the NWC Show, going live at Summerslam weekend, and I'm joined by the guy who was on episode 4 of this podcast. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Well, I've had a bit of a name change since the last time I was here. So if you remember, I was wrestling through life, but now you can probably see on the bottom of the ticker, I am Scott Retro Wrestling. But my name is Scott. I'm still the same person. So I just had a bit of a repackaging, shall we say?
Well, so let's get into it straight away. What made you change from Wrestle Through Life to Scott Retro Wrestling? What was the idea to change over?
Right. I think because when I was doing Wrestling Through Life, I would like do these videos, hair break, then do these videos again, have a break, and I would like have ideas, and like I kind of felt I was doing the same as a lot of the other wrestling YouTubers. And then I was looking at like all my other videos. I was like, hang on. When I was watching, I ended up watching myself. I was like, I have more fun watching all the retro stuff, like going back and watching the old school pay-per-views. I'm like, I know people do it. I know you're doing like just matches, but I know that I was like, well, I might as well just make a channel and it's just me reviewing old pay-per-views. Hence why I say at the start of the intro, it's like I review the pay-per-view so you don't have to, because everyone does like one every so often. I thought, well, why not I just do it essentially like as and when I can? And then that's when I decided to write every pay-per-view down and then highlight the ones that I've watched so far, or highlight the ones that I will be watching shortly. Because obviously there's going to be 1 week where I have hardly, I think it's next end of August, September, I've only got 2. Whereas this next 2 weeks, I've got a SummerSlam every day to watch. So it varies my content, but I think the other thing I'm trying to do is get well ahead. So I have a bit of time to myself because I've had a bit of mental health issues, and even as you well know, and a lot of people well know, it's like, so I can enjoy myself a little bit more. Hence why I'm off on holiday from work this week. So I'm like getting ahead as quick as I can. But then when I get to the end of August, I've got a couple of days off because there's nothing until the start of September.
I think it's just different things, isn't it? Like I used to do the 1993 watch-alongs for Raw every week, and that broke me. See with the Doink the Clown stuff in there, I was like, "Fuck, I can't watch this. This is this is bad." So that just ruined my kind of watch-along experience. That's why I just do the matches now, because then I can pick good matches that I want to see instead of from doing the 1993 watch-alongs, which hurt me, like deep in my soul, really hurt me.
I like your idea. I did think of doing just specific matches as well, but I thought when I was like coming up with the idea of the channel, I was like, do I watch something in order, or do I just go jump from year to year, and it kind of breaks up my enjoyment? And that's why I prefer doing it like the day they came out. I'll maybe watch it a couple of days in advance, but when I release it, it's on the day the show aired. And I get a whole variety, which is, I think that's what's helped me enjoy it this time round more than watching something bang on consistently. That's what I would say.
Yeah, man. I think it's just I like the wrestling matches, randomly watching them from all over the place is something that I really enjoy. We've got a question from WrestleTron. It says, "What's your favourite WCW pay-per-view, Scott?" So it's directed to you. I don't get a place in this, but what's your one?
Well, considering I've only watched 2 so far on the channel, well, 3. I watched Road Wild 98, which is it's an abomination. It's so bad. Road Wild Nights, New Blood Rising. I have watched some other WCWs. Ones I'm actually I haven't got a specific favorite, but there is ones I'm really looking forward to watching. Is like Halloween Havoc. I know there's a lot of good Halloween Havocs coming up. I think December time, I'm going to be watching pretty much as many Starcades, because like I think there's certain months it will be like specific shows. So like January is going to be Rumble. August obviously is going to be SummerSlam, and November will be Survivor Series. And then I looked, I'm like, December would be good just to do the Starcades, because that was when Starcade. And then ECW didn't really have specific shows. They didn't have like big shows. Another one I'm looking forward to is World War III. I haven't seen a World War III, and I've heard about this 60-man sort of Rumble style. So that'll be pretty cool to check out. But no, I think
that's going to be if you've never seen the 60-man kind of, or 90, whatever it was, the 60-man, the 20 men in each in the triple rings, if you've not seen that before, it's so awkward. You're like, what's happening here when you first watch it? But then when it's done, you're like, actually pretty fun. So it's weird, but good.
No, I think there is shows that like I remember watching when I was a kid, because I wasn't WCW. I was WWF, and I always will be. I'll maybe down the line I'll add in TNA when I get, if it's free on YouTube or something, I'll watch TNA. I'll maybe do AEW, because I know the first All Out is on YouTube, so I might review it, especially coming up to All Out. And then I'll maybe dip into New Japan, maybe to watch some Wrestle Kingdoms, but that's just to start with. That was my plan anyway. And then if a show's got a certain anniversary coming up, I'll maybe watch it. So I think, is it the 29th of August? I have 3 SummerSlams. I'm not doing 88 because I'll be doing 89 the day before. I'm not doing 92 till next year because it'll be its 30th anniversary. So I've got the Bret, Owen, Cage, SummerSlam, Taker. That's the one I decided to pick.
Yeah, man, you know that Bret Owen Cage match is my favourite match of all time. So I'll be tuned right into that. But man, I love the idea that
you're tuning in just to see if I enjoy it.
But if you don't enjoy it, I'm just going to delete your podcast and never speak to you again. But no, man, I enjoyed
as much you would. I was like, oh god.
The new way your channel is, man, it's so cool. Like the retro stuff, it makes me want to go back and watch it. Like when you watched, was it New Blood Rising? I was like, you know what, I need to go back and watch this terrible pay-per-view. But I went back and watched it as well, and it was as bad as I remembered. But it's just fun to go back and see it. So I've got 2 questions in the comments from WrestleTron. So what's your favourite WWE pay-per-view? What's your favourite WWE pay-per-view?
SummerSlam 2002. I love that pay-per-view, and I will be reviewing it because it was the only pay-per-view that took place on a particular day. So I'm like, yes, I get to review my favorite pay-per-view because it has my favorite match of all time, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, the unsanctioned street fight. But Kurt Ray is a great opener. There's not really a bad match. RVD Benoit is a sleeper. You've got the unsanctioned match. It's absolutely terrific. And Brock is actually a really good match. Edge and Eddie, so good. So good. It's my favorite.
Man, my favorite WWE pay-per-view from that time is Survivor Series 2002. It's just...
Oh, that's a really good one as well.
Top to bottom, fantastic. That 2002 period was just a really fun
2002, I feel 2002 is slept on. Everyone talks about how 2000's one of the best years for the WWF. granted, it probably was, but 2002 in terms of quality is actually really good. I think we've mentioned SummerSlam, Survivor Series. The Rumble isn't actually that bad. WrestleMania X8 is, a lot of people pick it as very underrated because of Rock Hogan. No Mercy is actually really good that year because it has 2 outstanding matches. But no, 2002 is slept on.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think it's a weird time in wrestling at that point as well, because things were transitioning from obviously WCW, WWF, and things like that over to just really WWE being around as the big company, which it has been ever since. But heading into that, going to today's wrestling, which I know sometimes guys like us might not enjoy as much as what we did back in the day. But what's your thoughts on CM Punk maybe turning up in AEW? What would you do if he doesn't turn up tomorrow, as in watching Twitter burn down? Or what would you do if he did and watching WWE burn down?
Oh man, it's if he doesn't turn up, I would laugh my fucking ass off because everyone is hyping it up, and if he doesn't show up, it's gonna be like a Johnny Depp kind of the trailer, and then it just bombs at the box office. But if he does turn up, I say game on. I would say if he does turn up, WWE need to seriously buck up their ideas. The fact that Punk's been away for 7 years and he's signing with a rival company and potentially even Daniel Bryan going over as well, I say game on in terms of, and then the WWE would need to seriously buck up their ideas because this is probably the biggest threat they've ever had since WCW.
Totally agree. WWE's been lazy, but that's the thing. Like for years now with their booking, since like that, like you'll remember as well that 2011-12 period, which destroyed a ton of fans as well. Like fans that did hold on, that 2011-12 period kind of destroyed what was left of like the actual wrestling fans. And then they've just been lazy ever since then. Obviously, people can say you've got AJ coming to WWE, Sting, whatever. But nothing's like AJ was amazing in TNA and stuff. I love watching the guy. Since he's been in WWE, obviously he's had a good couple of matches here or there. But is it anything compared to his great matches with like Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Kurt Angle, like the insane matches that he had? Plus, if CM Punk doesn't turn up in AEW and he turns up in SmackDown, then WWE just played an amazing hand.
I can't. If you look at the way WWE is, like you mentioned, 2011, 2012. I got back into wrestling, WrestleMania 28, so I missed the summer of Punk. But then I watched SummerSlam 2011 just recently, and even then, I'm like, you butchered Punk. Why have him walk away only to come back? Was it 8 days later? It just made no sense whatsoever. And then he loses a cash-in by a random attack from Kevin Nash. And then he loses to Triple H, Night of Champions. Then loses in a tag at Vengeance. It's just they butchered it. And then you mentioned Sting. Look at the way AEW have treated Sting.
I wasn't a big fan of I'm a huge Sting mark. I wasn't a biggest Sting when he first came into AEW. I thought it was a wee bit like not really working well. But like recently, it's really been really good, and it's just been fun to watch Sting just being out there having fun. And you clearly know he's just there to take the paycheck, just to add a little bit more zeros to the end of his bank balance, which I would be doing as well. I'm not going to lie. If I was his age, oh, you want to pay me 2-3 million just to turn up? I'll do it.
And the fact that he looks incredible for 62, and then he takes a table bump, and then no sells it like Sting. All the new fans are like, why is this old man? I'm like, dude, go and watch Sting from like 97. That's what he did. That's what he did. That was him hulking up.
Man, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan as well. But for me, so AEW, I always say AEW wasn't being they made a few mistakes since the start. Of maybe no story wise and faction wise, whatever. But I feel that they've really started finding their stride a little bit better now. And for me, that's my favourite time of the week because WWE just, apart from watching Roman Reigns, which is he's obviously doing everything right. Apart from that, there's nothing really outside it, especially since NXT is pretty much going away. Raw is just the worst time of the week.
I could book an episode of Raw without watching Raw for several months.
Well, I think my kids can book an episode of Raw better than Raw writers at the minute.
I mean, I'm at that stage. I think I said to someone on Twitter, I'm at that stage where I'm just watching the pay-per-views.
I see when you were obviously your new channel and stuff like that, and I was like, there's a lot of people just going back to the retro stuff because it's like today's WWE is so much far apart from where it was before. And it just like we've got the WrestleMania stream that we done, and it was a really good, like, fun weekend. Then you've got SummerSlam, it's a really good fun weekend. But then you've got things like Extreme Rules coming up or Hell in the Cell that meant nothing because they had two better Hell in the Cells on the Friday and Monday.
Yeah, I think because I mean, Money in the Bank was actually I really enjoyed Money in the Bank. I'm like, that's what frustrates me. Their pay-per-views have been actually decent this year, but the stuff in between just frustrates the hell out of me. I would say there's 3 matches I'm actually really looking forward to at SummerSlam. RK Bro, because I think they are the most entertaining part of Raw. Because I have been kind of watching to kind of see what's been happening before SummerSlam, or I'll just watch the YouTube clips. Roman Cena, just because the build hasn't been great, but I think the promo off on SmackDown this past week. And then Edge versus Seth Rollins, because it's like a dream match I've wanted to see since Edge returned. And they're actually using the storyline from when Seth was in the Authority, and it's been built really well. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Man, see, for some, like the Roman and Cena match is going to be great, right? No matter what they've done, it's going to be great. But I don't feel the build to it has really been amazing. Like, it just has. It feels like it's a build that WWE's trying to keep down a little bit. Like, I feel that they could really just let it go. Like, if they wanted to just let it go and tell an amazing story, they could. But the story's been good up to here. But it just feels like they're missing out in that bit to make it like a Hogan Rock experience. Do you know what I mean? Or like a Cena Rock experience. And then if you look at the rest of the card, like, they fumbled McIntyre and Mahal for, I don't know how you could fumble that. Like, it's easy to tell that's fumbled it.
No, that's been disappointing. Even the triple threat women's matches, Bianca Sasha would be the other one I would add in, is because their Magic Mania is incredible. Was incredible, sorry. But the Raw women's triple threat, that's poor. And then Eva Marie versus Alexa Bliss. How the fuck is that a SummerSlam match?
Man, I don't know if you remember this, but we sat at like when we done the WrestleMania stream, we were that was like the Fiend against Orton, and then she came out with the black stuff. And I was like, the only thing worse than this is if they put her up against Eva Marie. And I've done it. I was like, somebody has been watching your channel, watching this channel, and been like, let's get that done, because that is a.
It's gonna be. Oh.
Obviously, the both of us are Scottish. We're happy to be Scottish, kind of.
Yeah.
In the summer, no in the winter. Nikki Ashman, what's your opinion on it? What?
I feel like I've gone backwards. I'm like, I've already seen it with Mighty Molly and the Hurricane. It's 2021. I mean, fair play to her for actually going along, and it was her idea. But in the title scene, not really.
So,
and again, she's added something different to Rhea versus Charlotte. I'm just like, I'm waiting for Becky Lynch. That it needs Becky.
But it could have been, if you see when I do like this fantasy booking thing, and it's no like anything special, but I put in like another women's title, so got rid of the tag team titles because they're a joke now, but put in like an intercontinental women's title and gave that to Nikki Ash because she can play that fun gimmick that she wants to do, and it's not the world championship. But then again, it's like it doesn't really mean anything. Like, I don't know. I don't really care for Nikki Ash. It just kind of, like you said, we've already seen it before, and we can go watch the Hurricane on WWE Network and see it. And I always hate when it's like, oh, but it was her idea. Well, no, ideas are good ideas, and that's somebody's just went, we don't know what else to do with you. Come up with something. And she's like, a superhero will sell.
And then you hear the reactions on house shows. She's like getting booed. I'm like, wrestling fans are. I think everyone thinks that wrestling fans are dumb. We're not. We're a lot older and a lot wiser. Well, some of us are, but we understand when something doesn't work, and that's not it.
But we've seen it so many times, and it's no a world championship character. It's a mid-card to lower mid-card character. That's what the characters are there for kids to enjoy. But you'll remember being a kid as well, you looked up to people like Austin, DX, NWO. You wanted to be like the cool bad guys. You didn't want to be like Goldust. You know what I mean? You didn't want to be like the face painted guy.
Then, as like a double-edged sword, I wouldn't want to see Rhea versus Charlotte one more time.
No. I don't think. And then who's going to win it? They're going to give it to Nikki Ash again by stealing it, and then we continue this on to Extreme Rules again. The same story to have the same triple threat Extreme Rules, which will make me want to.
I've always did a fantasy booking with Charlotte, and I've always had it in my head. So I thought I would share it with you now, because I think everyone is sick of Charlotte being in the title match. I've had this thing. If we were to do this sort of like a ranking system, I would say to Charlotte, look, you've had opportunity after opportunity and you keep failing. What you're going to do, I would put Charlotte right at the bottom. And the only way she can get another world title shot, say she's going for tying her dad's record, start her at the bottom of the pile. You have to beat every woman on the roster. Every single one. If you lose, you're back down to the bottom. Do it for a couple of months and have it. Then she finally gets the opportunity at WrestleMania. I wouldn't even have her in the Rumble. That's how I would book Charlotte. And then people would be like, because Charlotte is so good in the ring. It's just her character is. I don't know what her character is. I don't even know if she's a babyface or a heel. I think she's
the champion, right? But why do we keep taking her off her? Just let her be that arrogant, cunty champion, like that. I'm the best in the world. Like, she doesn't even turn up to SmackDown unless she's got a match. Then when she turns up, she comes in a limo, comes out, has a good 3 4-star match, has a pin, goes back up the road, and goes, I'll see you next month. And then somebody tries to book her. She's like, I'm only scheduled for 2 matches this month. This is what my contract says. You can't put me in here. Make her like the cunt that she is, because she is that good. But we can't keep having her have matches against the same people. But it shows how far ahead does compared to the rest.
2016 Charlotte is the best Charlotte. That's what you just summed up. That when she had her dad in her core.
I think she's the best in 2016, but since then, she's not really had anybody to go against. So she's just got bored. Like if you went to your job every single day and it was the same, like most people's jobs are just the same shit every day. Yeah. Get bored as shit doing it. So that's what she's doing. She's just gone, knowing that she's good at what she's doing, facing the same people. Why does she care what she's going to do next? Like she's just going to, all right, I'll just do whatever's coming up. Doesn't matter.
I don't know. The only other match, going on to another match we haven't really mentioned, Goldberg Lashley. I only care about that match if Big E cashes in. I'm genuinely serious. It's the only time I am ever cared about a Goldberg Bobby Lashley match is if. But then again, Baron Corbin's got his money in the bank, so it's not going to happen unless Corbin cashes in.
No, don't. Why have you spoke that into existence now? Nobody it's going to happen to it, and then I'm going to be raging on Sunday morning. But I think Lashley should get the win. Big E cashes in, gets the belt, and then that builds up to Big E versus Lashley at Extreme Rules, and put them in an Extreme Rules match because that's when it should be at Extreme Rules instead of from whatever childish teddy bear shit that they do, and just let them like go at it. These two guys are amazing, and for some reason they have made Bobby Lashley just seem stupid. Like the guy is insane. He's like in his 40s and he looks insane. Like he's like jacked as hell. Why are you not make this guy like the coolest champion ever? But they just don't. It's weird.
He looks in ridiculous shape for his age. I forgot to mention, I just looked at the card. Damien Priest versus Sheamus could be a sleeper hit. I think that could be really good.
See, that'll be a great match, right? But the story going into it is the Damien Priest is coming to save the cruiserweights for Sheamus because Sheamus is kind of bullying them. And it's like, Priest is literally made to be a bad guy. And if you want like a mixed gender tag team, put him and Rhea Ripley together and let them go put them in a wee stable or some shit because they look the exact same. They have the same and they work the same. Just let them fucking go at it. The story's there. Stop confusing what's happened.
No, because I looked on Twitter before and Rhea Ripley shared that they're in Vegas already or they're in Phoenix. No, I think the Raw guys are in Vegas already and it's Rhea, Priest and Riddle in like just lounging in the pool. And I went, those three together, apart from Riddle, but like you said, I was like, Priest and Rhea could be like a really good like stable if you had. Try to think of other wrestlers that've got like tattoos all over.
You could add Riddle in as like the kind of he's like F this fun gimmick, you know what I mean? I'm this badass MMA fighter that'll come in here and beat whoever's there.
I think Riddle's always, I think I've got that feeling Riddle's going to be a babyface for most of his WWE run. I think.
Aye, it's see, this is what I mean, man. It's so easy to like you look at WWE and especially you look at Raw, SmackDown. There's nobody else on SmackDown that matters apart from Roman Reigns. Obviously, you've got Edge and Seth Rollins. I know you're a huge Edge fan, but apart from Roman Reigns, there's nothing there. Like,
but I do feel that Roman's next challenger is going to be Balor because they teased it. I think Balor's going to be his feud between SummerSlam and Survivor Series.
Do you think? I don't think it's going to do anything again. That's just going to be another Roman Reigns goes out. He's the head of the table. beats Balor. And you know what, I'm not even complaining. I like it. The guys.
That will be a great match. So they've had great matches in the past, and especially if they stick with this Prince gimmick for Finn rather than the happy smiley Finn. Especially when he stood up to Roman after he got choked out, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't mind seeing this again.
Man, they're so like it's so weird because like Roman Reigns can go in that ring against anybody, and he's just going to put on a good match, and it's going to work. But then I don't know. It's like, who do you see dethroning Roman Reigns eventually? Like,
Jesus,
there's nobody. And then
I'm like, I think a babyface Seth, or even Seth. Seth at the moment seems the most, and unless they're going to go with Big E cashing in on Roman, but I don't think that would work. So for me, I would say, from the look of it, I think it'll be Balor, Extreme Rules, then the pay-per-view in October, then could be Big E versus Roman at Survivor Series, or Roman versus Lashley. Or if NXT gets involved, you could have Roman, Lashley, and Samoa Joe. I'm like, take my money, please. Then I could see Seth being his feud up until the Rumble. I can't see Roman losing that title until even WrestleMania. I genuinely can't.
Man, even then, I don't think. Just keep it on Roman. Like, this is the longest story that I've told in years. Just keep it on Roman. It's just let him have it. Let him run with it. He's doing a cool gimmick. He's the most over person in WWE. And I just let him do what he's got to do instead of from worrying about. Like, even Bobby Lashley, like, if it was me, I would let him beat Goldberg, bring Lesnar in, then let him beat Lesnar, and then have Big E cash in, because then you've got two legends that have went under Lashley. Big E cashes in, and then you can do Big E, Lashley, Lesnar, or whatever. But I don't know if Lesnar's going to come back. He looks too fun having, unless he turns up in the EW. I know
that'll never happen. I loved because Lashley was on Broken Skull with Stone Cold, and Austin says, name 5 opponents you haven't had matches with. He mentioned Brock. He mentioned Austin. Who's the other 3? Taker. Eddie Guerrero. Oh, who's his last one? And I'm like, well, he wants to fight. He obviously does want to fight Brock, but it's just a question of if Brock wants to come back when this is all still going on. Because I think America's still really bad with COVID. So,
but I don't think there'll be like a. I don't know. Lashley's just. It just feels like his run has been. It needs something in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like him and Drew going against each other for so long just kind of felt a wee bit. And then you had. I don't know. It didn't feel as good. But I feel if you can squash Goldberg, go on to get like a Lashley or somebody big again. We just need more people in the Raw title scene, because there's nobody really there. Like, it's bad. Everybody just seems like nobody's on Raw.
It needs a draft. I think the draft needs to happen soon, just to get a bit of freshness into it. I think they need, or there's going to be a massive rejig after SummerSlam. That's the only thing I could really see.
What's your, obviously we're talking about NXT there, but what's your take on Karrion Kross coming up and having the 50-50 booking of 50-50 bookings?
To be honest, I'm going to say controversial here. Couldn't care about Karrion Kross. I think he's one of the most boringest NXT champions I have ever watched. He is just an entrance to me. That's it. His moves aren't particularly impressive. I think whoever he's wrestled, I'm more interested in them rather than him. And then when he went over to Raw and lost to Jeff, I actually laughed because I was like, that's what you get for being boring. Couldn't care. Honestly, I genuinely couldn't care about him. Good luck to him on the main.
No need to like bury the guy, man. I really like Karrion Kross. I think he's a good champion for NXT. He's hard hitting, but like you said, his entrance does outweigh with Scarlett and stuff, does outweigh what he does in the ring. But WrestleTron just says he thinks Edge will get drafted to Raw. Do you think Edge is your favourite wrestler of all time? So do you think Edge will get drafted to Raw? Or are you happy with him on SmackDown?
I think it would be good on Raw. But I think Edge is probably one of the only legends that they've actually used properly. If that makes sense. He's put over Roman clean twice. I think he will lose to Seth unless he beats Seth and they have a rematch at Extreme Rules, which I wouldn't mind. Because I could see them having like their blow-off feud in some sort of stipulation match at Extreme Rules.
Uh-huh.
But I think he has said I would draft it to Raw and then him and AJ. Because I think he has said he wants to work with AJ and Drew. But then I would have Drew go over to SmackDown.
Yep.
And I think Drew would be, you think of people dethroning Roman, put Drew over to SmackDown and have Drew. I think that's what they might do.
Man, I don't want to see like Drew get the belt off Roman. I would rather see Drew stay out that title picture till at least maybe WrestleMania 2022, just after it, then come back into it, because I feel fans got sick of him a little bit. But looking back at the card that we've got coming down, you were saying Edge versus AJ, like a triple threat between Edge, AJ, and Seth Rollins at something like Extreme Rules or Survivor Series, like it would be a really cool thing to do, I think, as well. Especially, I don't know, I just feel like there's nothing really in WWE that mega stands out. But then going to the question I was trying to think of, going to SummerSlam is Edge versus Seth Rollins, so legend against current guy. Lashley versus Goldberg, legend current guy. John Cena and Roman Reigns, legend current guy. They're not going to let all three legends lose. So I've got Rollins will go over Edge because that makes sense. Lashley goes over Goldberg, then I'm like, does Cena beat Roman? I don't see that happen, but will they make all three legends lose in one night? Because historically, they never do that. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
The only one that I could probably see, because one is not a title match, and if we've obviously mentioned, maybe I would have Edge beat Seth, and then Seth goes over in the rematch. That's probably what I might do, especially if you're not going to put Cena beating Roman. I just can't see it, and I can't see Goldberg beating Lashley. So if we're going with a legend winning, I would have Edge, because I think Edge would stay around and have a rematch with Seth, whereas the other two, they won't have a rematch. So that's probably what I would do.
Unless we're going to get another somebody coming back. Man, I don't know what's going to happen at all. I'm buzzing for this weekend. I'm sitting saying that the card doesn't, it looks good. I'm not really that excited. I'm going to pop no matter what happens. It's going to be fun. We've got AEW
and it's a
tonight.
Saturday pay-per-view. For us UK fans, that's fantastic.
And then we get NXT TakeOver to wake up to on Monday, which could be the swan song for NXT, the final go out for NXT, because change is happening. What do you feel with that, man? Because it feels like everything's coming to an end this Sunday for NXT.
The NXT stuff.
What do you think?
It broke my heart. It's like they're going backwards. They're going backwards. They're going back to their golden age. I'm like, I don't want to see this this Parker, whatever his face is, this overhyped, failed NFL offensive lineman face Rick Steiner's son in a 10-minute absolute dumpster fire. That's not what NXT is about, man. I feel so sorry for like Triple H and Shawn, who have created this alternative to the main roster.
And plus, these guys like Parker and stuff like that, they need these, like Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, all these guys that are already there for when they come up to have great matches against. Because that's what made NXT great, is you're going to see these young guys, relatively unknown, going against these guys that everybody knows and likes. So if you got like a Parker against a Johnny Gargano or Parker against a Bronson Reed who shouldn't have been released, that would have been an insane match. You could have built that for a year. But they didn't. They're going to, no, we're going to let all the older guys over 30 go. That would have been us fucked. Just go for these young guys that don't have a clue what they're doing, because why no? And it wasn't even back in the olden days as well, like even when it was OVW, olden days, let's say we talking about fucking ancient. Back in OVW days, they used to get Taker and stuff like that, and that's on the WWE Network. Taker came down and worked. It boggles my mind, like, why are you guys taking a step back? Because AEW, their main show, bet your third show. Of course it's going to beat your third show, but if you look at it, AEW's on 1 million plus now on a Wednesday. When NXT was there on a Wednesday, AEW was on what, 700,000? Because NXT was still like biting at their feet. Like, it makes no sense, the logic that WWE uses, but then it's like they make more money than ever, and it's like, who's paying you this?
I mean, I love the company to death, but it's like I find it so difficult to defend them. I will still love them, but I'm like, I find it so difficult to like defend some of the things you have done.
And see with Raw, it's like a bad relationship now, like an abusive relationship. You keep going back to it. You know, every Monday I'm like, it's got to be good this week, and fans are back, so it will be good. And then on Tuesday, I'm sitting there shouting at my camera, reviewing this show, saying, how can they still mess this up? And it's true, like, it's just shit. And for me, just now, Raw just hurts so much. Like, because when we were younger, Raw and Nitro, but Raw was like fucking wrestling every single week. Raw was the best show to watch.
I think, or it's like with us in Raw, it's like people know that the marriage is ended, but we don't realize that the marriage is ended, if that makes sense. Like, I feel so bad for like yourself and a lot of other wrestling YouTubers that cover Raw. I feel so bad. That's why I don't do current product stuff. I'm kind of thankful I don't, to be honest. I mean, like I said, I've hardly watched any of the weekly TV since probably WrestleMania. And I've just watched the pay-per-views, and it means my enjoyment is still there. But even if the pay-per-view's bad, I'm like, I don't have to watch every week. I can watch next month and see if it's gotten any better.
Man, I think as well, see, the way WWE is now, everybody always says, like, they make more money than ever, like Adjo says, which they do. And they're more profitable now than what they were back in the Attitude Era. But what people need to remember is there's more streams of income now. So you've got YouTube, Twitch, ads, you've got your merchandise sales, which is easy to get across the world. Back when we were growing up, you had to rip the little thing out the back of the magazine and send it away. You had to make a phone call to order a t-shirt if you didn't find it in a shop somewhere. So of course they're more profitable now. If they're no more profitable now as one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world, they're stupid, which they're not. They're really, really smart at what they do. But you can't say that wrestling is better. The in-ring ability is better, but you can't say the overall story and the enjoyment. Like the other day, I watched Ravishing Rick Rude versus Ultimate Warrior, SummerSlam 99. The cage match one, no, the best one. I was just sitting with a smile on my face. Not the best match, but it was fun to watch.
I remember I've watched that match, and the story in the ring was that feud was over a year. So they feuded at WrestleMania 5, SummerSlam 89, and this was like, and then Rick Rude dominates the match, and you think he gets a bit overconfident because he wants to beat Warrior, and then it just backfires on him. I mean, that's storytelling. Like,
it's the storytelling that's went away from wrestling because they don't want to tell it over. Like, Austin versus Rock is the best example. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, you're saying SummerSlam 2002, that finished up in 2004, and they told the story the whole time that they don't like each other, but nobody ever tells a long-term story. It's like 2 weeks before a pay-per-view, oh shit, we need to book this pay-per-view. Let's throw a couple of people together. Damien Priest versus Sheamus was booked, 2 weeks ago on a Monday? What are we doing here? That makes no sense.
I'm trying to think of, like, Austin McMahon essentially started in 98 and finished at WrestleMania X7.
Taker Kane, that finished
2000. I thought it started in October. It's way, because I reviewed SummerSlam 97. The Kane stuff's happening then. I'm like, I think JR has gone on and said it's one of his favorite rivalries because they took their time, they built it up. I'm trying to think of another good long-term. Can anyone else think of good? Like Hogan Savage, that was a year.
Hogan Savage, you've got Sting Hogan.
Sting Hogan, even though that is definitely a pay-per-view I will review when it obviously coming up to closer to Christmas, because it's regarded as the biggest WCW pay-per-view, Starrcade 97. So that is definitely one I will be doing this year at least, because it's such a big.
For me personally, you might feel this as well, is we could go back and watch all this old wrestling from when we were kids and before we were even born and enjoy it because it's got really good story in it and it makes sense. Like, it looks like I was going back watching some of the old NWA stuff, like WCCW, and when they were hitting each other, it looked like they were actually hitting each other, and everything had its points that it told a story. Then you go to watch it now, and I enjoy wrestling. The reason I moan about it is because I love it so much. It's my favourite thing ever.
That's why I say, I'm like, people say, why do you enjoy wrestling so much? I'm like, it's my soap opera.
Yep.
It's like I know Americans might not. I think Americans do have like daytime soaps. I think they've got like Days of Our Lives, Young. For us, it's like EastEnders, Coronation Street, Hot. It's like these are like our characters. We have our favorite characters, but then every character, like the Attitude Era, like when I was watching it, started watching 2000, nearly every single person had a storyline.
Yep.
You'd have a storyline with Rock, Triple H. That's a good long-term story because it kind of went from 98 all the way to like 2000. But then like Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit would have a storyline, upper mid-card for the Intercontinental. Then you had like a storyline with the European title, but then you would have like, and then there would be like, I'll tell you a good one. Before I recorded with you, I'm watching SummerSlam 1999 because that's the review that's going out on Sunday, and there's nearly every match had a story. So like the opener was Jeff Jarrett, D'Lo Brown, Eurocontinental. It had a story, and it was Jeff Jarrett was being a bit of a misogynist arse. But then it was all a plan. Mark Henry turns. I'm like, then there was a tag team turmoil, but then it was like Al Snow versus Big Boss Man. They've been feuding for months. Ivory versus Tory. The match is absolutely an abomination. They had a story. I think the one match I stopped at was the Lions Den weapons match. So it's Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman. It had a story. It'd been going since fully. But then there's a thread of the main event storyline woven into the show. I'm like, that's awesome. Because it's like Jesse Ventura's the guest ref for the main event, and he's like telling each member of the triple threat. But then that story is weird, and I've been reading up about it. That was when the rumor was that China was going to be the number one contender for the title. Then it changed to Triple H. Then it changed to both Mankind, and then both of them. And then I love watching these old shows.
It's so weird, and the worst thing is, AEW still make a ton of mistakes, but it feels like that's the only place I can get professional wrestling fixed on a weekly basis, because the rest of it, like WWE, just feels like it's no for us anywhere. It's for somebody that isn't us, and I don't know who it is, because my kids don't like that. They watch the old retro stuff, but I don't know how to get them to. I don't know.
And that's the other thing if you've seen my videos, that's why I say at the end, this is what I would say go and avoid. This is what I would say definitely watch, or maybe say just watch the show, because I'm trying to like have a balance of older people not remembering the show and being like, oh, I didn't realize this happened on the show. But for younger people, I'm like, well, this is one I would say check out. I think Saturday's video is SummerSlam 2005. I say check out Hogan versus Michaels. I watched it and I was laughing. It's when you hear the story behind it, I enjoyed it more.
Do you know, you bringing up Hogan versus Michaels, the other day I was watching Hogan versus Randy Orton. That story behind that one is just like, let's go, like Randy Orton's trying to like get into his girlfriend, his daughter's pants, and then like Hogan's like, no, you can't do this, and it's like so weird, but it works, randomly works as a match.
The scary thing is that you've just mentioned that's today's video. This SummerSlam 2006. That's because technically that's Hogan's last match.
Technically.
That SummerSlam 2006 is one of those, it's a weird show where there's nothing bad. There's nothing stands out. It's like it's a show you could watch from start to finish and you'd be easily entertained by it. I think that's what I mentioned in the video.
Man, it's like I said, it's a weird time to be a wrestling fan, because it feels like we're just like WWE are saying that they're not worried about AEW. Of course they're going to say that. Of course they're worried. A lot of people are tuning into them because people are sick and tired of the same shit that WWE's been doing for, 15 years? I'd probably say the past years has been just WWE doing what they do, because they destroyed Impact Wrestling back in 2010, 11. So then it's just been WWE's wrestling, or go check out Independence, and that's it. But coming up to the end of the podcast, man, is question that I ask when people are coming on for the second time, which obviously, thanks for being on for the second time, is
no worries.
What's that match you like to sit down on a rainy day when you're feeling down, you put it on, and you walk away happy watching it? What's that one match that's got a great memory for you?
Well, I would have said Triple H Shawn because it's my favorite match. But I'm not going to pick. I would try and pick something different for you because I've mentioned it. It's my favorite match of all time. Can I pick two?
You can pick two. You can pick as many as you want.
I'll watch a Royal Rumble. Even any Royal Rumble just puts a smile on my face because it's the next big pay-per-view I would like to go and watch live. I think they say that SummerSlam's the second biggest pay-per-view of all time. No, I think the Rumble is now. I think more people get excited about the Rumble. So I would say in terms of fan ranking, it would be Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series in terms of the big four for fans. So I'll watch any Royal Rumble. Austin Rock WrestleMania X7 is another one I watch. God, I'm trying to think of others. Any Edge match, because he's my boy. So like any of the Edge Taker matches, because I just watched the Hell in a Cell one from 2008. It's a really, really good main event, especially because it was PG. That was the first PG show, but they still made it violent and brutal without having to use any blood. Taker Triple H from WrestleMania 28, because I always look back at that match as that was the match that got me back into wrestling full time. Because like SummerSlam 2009 was the last pay-per-view I watched because I was getting sick and fed up with the guest hosts, and then took a massive, massive break. And then WrestleMania 28 was the first show I watched properly back. And that match was like, that's why I love wrestling, because it was a good story, great match, drama, in the cell, even though they didn't really use the cell that much, but it was just that drama of it being in the cell. I would say that would be some of my choices.
But for me, I've changed it from Bret Hart to Owen Hart. That's my favourite cage match of all time, and it will never change. I can sit and watch that every single day, never get bored of it. But when I'm feeling a wee bit shit and I just want to put on a great wrestling match, something that I know that I don't need to, I can watch and enjoy start to finish. It's Taker, Kurt Angle, No Way Out 06, and then the SmackDown after it. Those two back-to-back are fantastic matches. And then Hogan Rock, WrestleMania 18. The storytelling in that, still a great match, but the NWO against WCW against that was the one match that actually felt like WCW against WWF. And
it's a really good
China just went together. During my time, you were saying obviously WrestleMania 28. I missed that one as well, man, because I got back into wrestling 2013, like late 2013, because I just, obviously from doing wrestling, watching it, a load of shit was happening in my life, and I just got burnt right out for how shit wrestling was getting, because it was the same push. So I missed out that period. I've obviously went back and watched it. And it's good, it's fun. It's not the best time, but it is fun. I'm hoping that everything that's happening just now, you know, AEW, WWE, whatever they're doing, but AEW and stuff like that are just going to kind of compete against each other a little bit more. I feel like we're in the early 1990s, like 93, 94. Terrible wrestling, good matches, terrible ideas and concepts, but we're going to be getting to that peak point. So I'm hoping it's going to get any better. And kind of coming to the end, man, where do you want people to find you? What's a match or a video you want somebody to kind of go check out first? I've got your links in the description, but what one would you recommend somebody to go check you out first on?
Oh God. Trying to think, because I've done so many so far.
It could just be anything, but you could just say like just check out all of them, because that's what I would normally say.
Just check out all of them, especially starting from SummerSlam 2019, because I'm doing a lot of SummerSlams. I do have a New Blood Rising. Oh, I would say for SummerSlam 2011, work your way up, because I'm pretty much going to be doing SummerSlams for the next 2 and a bit weeks. So it'll all be SummerSlam. So I've got SummerSlam 2006 coming out today. SummerSlam 2005 is out on Saturday. I've 99 out on Sunday. You get my point. So, and it's going to be a variety, because I've got, I think, a couple of really early SummerSlams as well to watch. I think 91, 89, and 94. So yeah, I would say start from there, and then you'll see the others as well. I've got one ECW one just now. I have 3 WCWs. I've got an NXT takeover as well. So yeah, go and check them out, please.
I want people to go check out your New Blood Rising one, just because how, how soul destroyed you look all the way through that. Like I would get people that to check out because just the way you speak about it is hilarious, man. Like it is a terrible pay-per-view. It makes no sense why it's there. It's like they tried to reinvent themselves mid-TV and it made no sense. But that was
the one that broke me was Goldberg, Steiner, and Nash. That broke me. The main event is actually not that bad. It's Jarrett Booker T. It's like the only passable match. The ladder match is okay, but the booking of it just made no sense. Even the Judy Bagwell on the pole match is a stupid stipulation. The match is passable. But the rest of it, I was just like, oh my God. But the Goldberg Steiner, like when Goldberg just doesn't take the powerbomb and just walks out, I'm like, what?
But that whole time in WCW is a must-watch period because of you're like, what the fuck is going on here? This makes no sense. But that was WCW. It made no sense, but somehow it worked kind of weirdly. But aye. Man, thanks for being on the show. This has been episode 61. If you wait there, I'll tell you the kind of aftercare information that we normally give people. And everybody should go check out your show. Go check out Scott's Retro Wrestling. The stuff's amazing. It's so cool.
4 away from 40. Put it that way.
Go subscribe. I think I'm like 12 away from 200, so soon you'll be beating me soon, man. Anyway, I'll end it here. You'll get after me.
No, thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun.